We have James calling in from New York. James, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Yeah, not much. Hello, guys. How are you two gentlemen doing tonight?
Doing well.
Doing okay. James, you're going to have to explain to me what exactly you want to talk about, because I'm not sure I fully understand from the call description here.
Yeah. Tulpamancy, mental conditions, and how both of those things in conjunction with each other help shape the our concepts of God, religion, and that sort of thing.
Okay. Okay.
Go
ahead. Keep going.
I mean, we're an evolved species of advanced primates. And over time, as we evolved, we started to lose our outer hair and fur and coverings, and slowly progressed into what we look like now. And so as that was happening, even primates now use tools. So at some point in time, we started to learn how to use the tool that was our brain. And then we started to look up at the sky and the stars, and we started to wonder about fire. And then we said, are there gods that govern over these things? And then I think that some of the early humans became so obsessed with those things and started, and another piece of this is they started using medicinal herbs, and that possibly broke their minds and drove them to have psychoses among their people. And then they got involved in things like tulpamancy, and then that's how early religions were created.
Yeah. So okay, this is going a better direction than what I thought it was going to be. I had no idea where you were originally going to take this, but I see what you're getting at. So tulpamancy, first of all, I'll explain for an audience here, because old heads know we had a month where every call was about tulpas at Truth Wanted. I don't know what happened. It was an interesting time, but tulpas are basically mental constructs. Detractors would probably call them imaginary friends, but the idea is that they're basically mentally constructed beings, or beings that kind of live in people's heads. Whether or not they are independent of the individual is dependent on the belief system itself. But they're just kind of mental beings, right? And they have some roots in Hinduism, and also just online message boards. People just talking about this stuff and picking this stuff up. And so I think what James is saying here, and James, you tell me if I'm right? Basically, as human beings evolved and learned to have mental constructs, not just of themselves, but of other people, right? When we relate to people in empathy, we were able to kind of do that for things that don't exist, right? So it's like that joke from a Community. You have the pencil and you name it like Steve, and then you break the pencil, and then a little bit inside of you dies when you see that happen. It's because we're able to attach ourselves to things a little bit. And so religion in its development was in part from our evolutionary development, because of our ability to have these mental constructs. And I don't know about the shrooms thing. A lot of people say, everybody, all indigenous societies were on shrooms, and that's how religion started. I mean, that's definitely true for some. I don't know. It seems like an overbroad generalization to me, but I get what you're saying there. Is that a fair summation, James?
Yes.
Okay.
And for me, the only reason I did bring in herbal medicine and mind altering substances is because I think that our early ancestors were using those herbs and roots to clean their teeth with, and I think that's how they ingested and caused those drugs to get into their system. But my thing is I love to pick things apart sociologically and anthropologically. And this is one of my favorite questions that we're discussing now, because you have to wonder, what was the first question that actually wandered into an ape's head? Was it when he was digging for his food, his ants, with a little twig? Did he say in his mind, what do I dig with? What is this? This is a stick. This is what I dig with. Am I digging for food? That sort of thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Eli, what do you think?
So it does kind of feel a little bit like the stoned ape hypothesis, which is kind of like similar to what you mentioned. Like some people will suggest that like the development of human cognition to its current level was because of like psychedelic mushrooms or like other things that would cause some psychoactive effect in the brain. And that's criticized a lot by like scientific communities, but I think it's definitely possible that like, yeah, early on did some people intentionally or accidentally ingest something that made their brains feel differently the same way it does for us today, and then that made them think about things differently. Like, yeah, absolutely, I think that's possible. I don't have the expertise to have an opinion on whether or not that had some overall like large effect on human evolution as a whole. It doesn't seem to have a lot of support, but I think definitely probably a lot of the religious imagery that people have. I think there's a slight chance revelation could have been a result of a psychedelic trip. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting to think about for sure.
In my bioanthropology courses in college, which admittedly, I'm not an anthropology major, so what do I know? But I did learn that we seem to be the only ape species that actually asks questions, which is interesting. We're not the only ones that answer questions, right? They can answer. They've already done this and tested this with people. By the way, Coco the gorilla is kind of a lie. This is an old gag on Truthwide from a year ago that I'm bringing back into the consciousness. Coco the gorilla is a lie. I just want to put that out there. Go look it up. I refuse to elaborate. You'll find it on your own. Anyway, point is, there is this understanding that we are able to verbalize and consciously ask questions. One has to wonder if we're able to actually ask questions without particularly verbalizing it in some sense. For example, like computers can be argued on some level. AI can be argued to ask questions in the sense that they can interrogate or want to get information to answer problems. Do we count that as asking questions? Because does it have to be, in a language with the syntax in order to be a question? I don't know. A lot of questions there that I am not qualified to answer, but I guess it is kind of fun to think about. I'd have to see what's out there, because I'm not going to be the guy that answers that. It's going to be somebody who's dedicated their life answering the question, not me. So yeah. I don't know, James. That's what I got.
Should I say one last thing? Do you mind?
If you want to, go ahead.
Yeah. I just think, like, for example, I mean, it's just an amazing thing, and the brain and the tulpas and how that all works. And I heard one call on your show about tulpas, and that was from, I can't remember the young lady, I think her name was Rebecca, and she had said she created this tulpa, and he was like talking to her, and I do have my own tulpas, and they talk to me on a constant and daily basis pretty much, and it's almost as if they have their own separate identities and conscious awarenesses and memories and feelings. Does seem like that. I wouldn't be surprised if the brain was. I wouldn't be surprised if the brain was capable of doing that in all its amazingness.
Maybe so. If ChatGPT can hallucinate answers, I don't know why our brains can't. Yeah. Right. In fact, that's what hallucinations are. Right. They're made up scenarios from our head. So yeah. I imagine something like that similar. But that again, way beyond my qualifications. I'll tell you that right now, James. But fun topic of conversation.
Mine too, Dave.